What's going to happen? Okay, so you've done your bit checking on legislation, I've just checked on my legislation. As I said to you, the shop does not have to accept it just because it is legal tender. You said it's legal tender, you are correct, however it is a commemorative coin. On the internet they're worth about 20 quid.
Well,
right, so here is what is going to happen. Either you are going to pay for your fuel correctly, or you are going to fill out their civil recovery form so that you can arrange to make payment at a later date, or I'm going to arrest you for bilking.
What's bilking?
Bilking, making off without payment. You've got to the point where payment is due, you're now refusing to make payment, therefore I will treat it as a criminal offence. So how would you wish to proceed at this point?
Well, I have got means to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not going to fill out a civil recovery form as you put it.
Right, so what's the means that
what
you're
was
going
the option
to pay?
2?
So option 1 is either you pay, option 2 is you fill out the form, option 3 is that you get arrested.
Well, pay.
No, you pay with legal tender that they will accept.
That is legal tender.
No, they don't have...
But if this is a £50 note and he said, oh look, we don't accept £50 notes because there's lots of forgeries,
exactly.
Would you be doing exactly the same thing now?
Yes, so if you go into a corner shop and try and pay for a penny chew with a £50 note, they are perfectly within their rights to refuse that sale.
From the moment the officers arrive at Hampton Court Palace, the interaction quickly turns tense. One officer starts by mocking the auditor instead of speaking calmly and professionally, setting a negative tone right away. Rather than trying to understand what the auditor was doing, the officers appeared more focused on challenging him from the start. The situation then shifts to the drone flight itself. One officer claims the drone cannot be flown over the palace, while the second officer supports the claim by mentioning helicopters nearby. However, that explanation does not fully match the rules. Hampton Court Palace is not normally inside restricted or prohibited airspace unless a temporary flight restriction has been put in place, and there is no clear sign that such a restriction existed during this incident.
This is different because...
No, it's not different.
No,
you have offered a form of payment that they will not accept. The principle is exactly the same.
Well, if you arrest me, it'll be a wrongful arrest.
Yeah? It's not. It's a lawful arrest because I've explained the situation and I've explained that I believe you're doing this for
Are you a
dishonest
sergeant
reason.
or an officer?
I am a sergeant.
Right.
Okay, so my point is also that coin is not worth the face value of it. It's not legal tender in such a way that this shop has to accept it as being valued at £100.
Okay, so it has... Hang on.
Short of the mark.
No, I'm not. So it is got a face value of £100, so it is worth £100.
It's not.
Well, you say that, but the Bank of England, the House of Commons, the state, all the institutions that came before you say it is, right? But you say it isn't, right? Now you say it's only worth whatever you say it was. Interestingly, I don't know if you've looked at the price of silver, but that's probably worth about £48 in silver. Hang on, I haven't finished yet. So that's £48 in silver.
Yeah.
Whereas, how much is a £20 note or a £50 note worth in plastic? What, a penny or two?
At this point, the issue no longer seems to be about airspace rules. The officer is shown clear and current information that challenges his claim, yet he refuses to accept it. Instead of calmly reviewing the facts, he continues to rely on authority and repeats that they have already checked the matter. That approach creates a bigger problem. When public information clearly shows an officer may be mistaken, refusing to acknowledge it can seriously harm public confidence. People expect officers to enforce rules fairly and accurately, not simply rely on confidence or position to win an argument. Drone regulations are set and managed by the CAA, not by personal opinion or how strongly someone presents a claim.
Let's check to make sure it's not an unlawful arrest.
Another unit, please. This chap's about to be arrested.
Would it be unlawful arrest?
Well, it's not a wrongful arrest.
It would be a wrongful arrest. Well, how can you arrest somebody for refusing to pay when they're offering to pay with a coin of the realm?
Because you're not offering to pay with payment that they can accept or will accept or have to accept. No.
Now, interestingly, you said that you've done some research on this and I've done this before.
Yeah.
Well, what was the outcome of it last time?
It was no further action.
Why was that then?
I don't know.
Well, how come you've got a record of that?
I'm about to let you drive off from here.
Well, how come you got a record that I did it last time, but you haven't got a record of the outcome?
Why? Because I haven't got time to look at that right now.
But you have got time to arrest me and deal with all the paperwork that'll be involved in that.
Yep.
So that's just abusing your power, I think,
No,
because
it's
what you're
not.
trying to do
It's
is
using
you're...
my power proportionally. These people here are trying to run a business, and you are making life extremely difficult by
I'm
being
not.
obstructive in how you're going to pay.
No, I'm not.
When the auditor politely asks what law or rule supports the officer's claim, he is not causing trouble or being difficult. He is simply asking for clear information, which any informed member of the public has the right to do. Instead of explaining the legal basis for the restriction or pointing to any actual airspace rule, the officer ends the discussion and relies only on his position as a police officer. However, lawful authority is meant to be based on clear rules and proper explanation, not just rank or confidence. In the UK, police powers are expected to be used within the law, and officers should be able to explain the reasons behind their actions when questioned. Refusing to provide that clarity while expecting immediate compliance can come across as dismissive and damages the idea of fair public service.
I'm only here to enforce the law, I'm not here to decide. I just suspect that an offence has taken place, okay? So I'm not convicting you, and you're refusing, to cooperate with me any further. You're refusing to resolve this situation by giving these people your details. So therefore,
No, I don't, because what you're trying to encourage me to do is not to give them my details, but to fill out a legally binding form. You're actually encouraging me to fill out a legally binding form, right? That would be detrimental to me.
Why? Because you have to pay for your fuel just like everybody else
No.
in this petrol station.
No, because you're forcing me not to use cash. It's exactly the same as
No, I'm forcing you to provide the legal tender that this business is willing to accept.
But it's not for them to pick and choose.
It is, absolutely.
No, it's not.
If they will only accept payment in Pokemon cards, that is entirely up to them.
Yeah, but they need to state that on the pump, right?
Yeah.
When I take the fuel, they need to
You and
say
I
payment
both know you
only
are
in
trying to pull
Pokemon.
a fast one,
I'm
don't
not trying to. What,
Yes,
you
you are.
what do you think I'm trying to achieve then out of this?
So
then?
why are you not willing to offer any other sort of payment? Do you have bank cards on you?
Maybe it's a matter of principle. This is a coin of the realm. You shouldn't be threatening to arrest me because of their preference as to what type of note or coin they accept. That's ridiculous.
The auditor's point is supported by the way drone rules work in the UK. Drone pilots are expected to check live airspace information using approved apps such as Drone Assist before flying. These apps may display helicopter activity or warning markers to help pilots stay aware of nearby aircraft, but those warnings do not automatically make flying illegal. They are mainly there to encourage extra care and safe operation. A drone flight only becomes restricted if the area falls inside an official flight restriction zone, such as around airports, military sites, protected locations, or if a temporary NOTAM restriction has been issued. If none of those restrictions are active, drone flights are generally allowed as long as they are carried out safely and within visual line of sight. Simply seeing helicopters in the area does not automatically ban drone use. Based on the live information available in the app at the time, the auditor believed the flight was lawful and was acting within the normal rules for drone operators.
It's not your job, is it, to state what type of coin that Tesco accepts or not?
It's my job to make sure that you don't go past the point of payment without making
Well,
payment.
I haven't driven off, have I? I've got every intention of paying with this coin.
No.
If I had no intention, if I was trying to do something dishonest, I'd driven off, wouldn't I? But the fact is, I've waited here for you to come and I've discussed it with you. I've tried to explain, being very civil, and being rude, have I? In any way, I've got no disrespect for the police whatsoever.
No.
Might go downhill a bit if you arrest me unlawfully.
Okay.
I just think, please, just check that it's a lawful arrest, because I don't think it is.
I believe it is.
And the whole point of cash and legal tender is that you cannot be successfully prosecuted for non-payment if you've offered legal tender. So if I had Scottish notes, right, now they're not legal tender in the UK, they're not legal tender full stop, but Tesco's actually accept those.
The officer then claims the auditor cannot fly the drone within 20 meters of residential areas, but that statement does not match the current drone rules. Even older regulations commonly referred to a 50-meter distance, not 20 meters, and those rules mainly applied to larger drones operating in higher risk categories. In this case, the auditor is using a DJI mini drone, which weighs under 250 grams and falls into the A1 category under CAA guidelines. Drones in this category are allowed to operate much closer to people and can generally be flown near residential, commercial, and recreational areas, provided the flight is carried out safely and responsibly. This is another moment where outdated or incorrect information appears to create confusion during the interaction.
There was an invitation to take the fuel, and I've taken the fuel, and now I've got a debt, and I'm offering to pay the debt in legal tender. Now in the store, it's different because I haven't taken the food, have I? In fact, if I'd have eaten the food, I'd be obligated to pay for it, and then it'd be the same scenario, just the same as if you went into a restaurant and had a meal, you know, and then you have to pay afterwards, and you offered to pay in that. Right? They can't lawfully have you prosecuted for failure to pay if you've offered a reasonable means of payment and they've refused to accept it.
Yeah, but you've refused to identify yourself to this person.
Well, I don't need to, do I?
I'm now starting to view your actions as being dishonest.
How have I been dishonest?
I suspect an offence is going to occur.
How have I been dishonest?
Because you're refusing to give your information to this gentleman, so that...
But he's not entitled to my information, is he?
He is.
Okay, if I told you what my...
because you have a debt to settle up with him.
This is...
So to go to the restaurant scenario, if you ate your meal and then said, oh, I've forgotten my wallet, I've got no means of paying.
Oh, no means of paying.
Yeah, okay. So at that point you're not being dishonest. At the point that you refuse to identify yourself, or you put Mickey Mouse care of Disney World on a piece of paper and say, here's my details, you're then becoming dishonest.
What about if, like, we went to the restaurant, we had a meal, right, and then I pulled out a £50 note and they said, look, we don't accept £50 notes. They can't make a decision about refusing to accept the £50 notes when you owe them money. They can only refuse to, they can only refuse to go through with the transaction in the first place. It's only because you've had the goods and you owe a debt that they can't refuse to accept the money.
This moment highlights the attitude behind the officer's behaviour throughout the encounter. When the auditor points out that one officer appears to better understand the drone rules than the other, the officer quickly responds by saying, "I'm the one teaching him." Rather than addressing the mistakes raised during the discussion, the comment comes across as defensive and dismissive. Throughout the encounter, the officer had already made several questionable claims about drone regulations, including incorrect weight limits, unsupported flight restrictions, and refusing to explain the legal basis for his statements. He also chose to mock the auditor instead of keeping the conversation professional. When those errors were calmly pointed out, the officer did not attempt to correct or clarify the situation. Instead, he appeared more focused on maintaining authority and control of the interaction.
Right, so these coins are made by the Royal Mint.
Yep, and they are legal tender.
And they are legal tender. Yeah. So how can I be refusing to pay and being dishonest in any way when I'm offering to pay with a coin of the realm, a legal
because
tender
you've
coin?
offered a form of payment that they are unable or unwilling to accept. Therefore, as I said, the onus is on you to find alternative means. You've failed to do that, and you are now proposing to leave here without actually giving any means of identification so they can arrange at a later date to make payment with you.
Okay.
So therefore, because of that, I suspect that you are about to commit an offence of making off without payment.
See, now I reckon that if you've offered to pay, and I've offered to pay lots of times, got it on video, and right, and they refuse to accept the payment, I can't see how that I've committed a crime, even if I don't pay.
To provide an alternative means of payment or come to an alternative agreement.
So what you're suggesting is that you're going to arrest me based on the opinion of a Tesco staff member,
no,
whereas another member of staff might have.
Based on my suspicion.
Suspicion.
I'm sure with the amount of time this gentleman has spent here, and the fact that other colleagues are aware of the fact that we have been here for half an hour?
Nah, 16 minutes.
I'm sure if he were able to take that coin, he would have done it by now, because he's got plenty of other things to do. You are costing them money by the fact that your car's sat here taking out these two lanes.
Well, I've offered to move it, but he said no.
If they could...
I offered to move it, but he said no.
But if they were willing to take this at any point, they would have done by now.
Now, don't you think, Ben, right, that the country's biggest retailer would have a simple, basic understanding of coins of the realm and the legal tender situation and what they can do and what they can't do?
Well, they clearly do by the fact that they are not obliged to take it just because it's legal tender.
Because he said so. But how do you know he's right? And how do you know that what he's saying is the opinion of Tesco's as a company as a whole?
It's not that he's right, it's that the Bank of England is right, and it's the Bank of England that states that the shopkeepers are not legally obliged to accept any royal tender. Right,
okay, I understand where you're coming from with that, but that's referring to buying something from a store, not for paying a debt.
Okay, it's still the same,
no, it's not.
Same situation.
No,
okay?
it's not.
That's fine.
It's actually on the Bank of England website what legal tender is.
Yeah, it is. As I said, I have no argument with you about that at all.
When a worker raises concerns about children being nearby, the auditor responds calmly and responsibly. He explains that he intends to fly the drone at a higher altitude to reduce any risk and avoid causing disruption. That response reflects the kind of careful decision-making expected from drone operators, understanding the rules and applying them in a safe and sensible way. Instead of recognizing that effort, the officer makes another dismissive comment, suggesting the auditor does not care about safety. However, the situation itself showed the opposite. The auditor had already explained how he planned to operate the drone responsibly and within normal safety guidance. CAA guidance does not automatically ban drone flights near children or members of the public, but it does require pilots to avoid flying directly over uninvolved people and to keep operations safe at all times. Based on his response, the auditor appeared to be taking those responsibilities seriously.
Okay, so I'm arresting you on suspicion of making off without payment. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something on which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand?
Yep.
Okay, so my intention at this time is to take you to Exeter Police Station, where you will be put into custody. The reason for that is for the prompt and effective investigation of the offence and to confirm your identity and your name and address.
Well, it'll be unlawful arrest, won't it?
No, not at all.
Right, where do you want me to park
I
my car
have the
then?
suspicion that you're about to commit an offence.
Well, what offence am I committing?
I've told you, I think you're about to make off without payment, and if I don't arrest you, then you will make off without payment. So there's my grounds.
Well, I'm offering to make
Can you come
payment.
out of the car, please?
Yeah,
sir?
no.
Okay.
There's no use to use violence, is there?
No, well, step out of the car,
let me
please.
just get my affairs together, alright?
Okay. Do you want to provide your details, or are you going to go to custody?
Well, why my details to you?
Yeah, but do you want to provide them to this man here?
No, but you want me to fill out a legal document.
Yeah.
No, I'm not filling out a legal
Okay,
document.
out of the car then, please, sir.
When staff are incorrectly told that drone flying over the site is illegal, that misinformation can easily spread. They may repeat it to co-workers or future visitors, leading to more unnecessary confrontations with people who are operating legally. Over time, this creates confusion, increases false reports, and wastes both police time and public resources. This is how misunderstandings can become accepted as normal. If incorrect information is repeated often enough without being challenged or corrected, people begin to treat it as fact. Staff rely on it, members of the public believe it, and eventually lawful activity starts being viewed as suspicious or unlawful when it is not.